Hello, so I have the amazing Eli Martyr from FreeMelon Society. Had on the channel over 8 months ago, too long, and you shared your story. 7 years raw vegan fruitarian. Now 8 years. 8 years, Eli?
Almost, almost,
Almost.
almost, almost
Incredible.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 8 years fruitarian. So if you do want to check out that video on his story, he shares some awesome nuggets. Definitely check that out in the description box. Today's video, we're actually going to move towards a little deeper, esoteric, conscious, how these foods vibrate and how they create vibrancy within our body. And I know Eli is consciousness and going deeper is a great subject, something I'm passionate about. I'm delving deeper, like the shadow work. There's a lot we can discuss on this, and Eli has a lot of knowledge, and I'm excited to be sharing. So thank you, Eli, for coming on and open this, sharing this space with me and the viewers, and sharing your experience and your knowledge that you've developed in the conscious, in the how foods affect us spiritually, emotionally.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Tony. It's really wonderful to be here with you again. We had a great conversation the first time, and yeah, looking forward to chatting about this kind of thing with you here today. And of course, the lifestyle that we lead, the foods that we eat, these all go to building your character, building your body for for one thing. We all know that the stuff that we eat builds our body, and the stuff that we eat, the stuff that we take into our bodies, it also builds elements of our other bodies as well. And so one of the and I'll repeat this as many times as I need to before it starts to become common sense, common knowledge. But you don't have just a physical body. You have several bodies that make up you as a human being. You have several of them. Okay. You could even say you have four lesser and three hidden, three higher, right? Which brings you to seven. Seven, that magical number that encodes information across the universe, across all scales. But for the sake of what we're doing here, we won't talk about all seven of these bodies. But you have a physical body, you have lighter energy bodies that go higher and higher in gradation as you go up the scale. And the point is, what you take into yourself, what you take into your body, to make this succinct, is that it feeds and nourishes all of these bodies at different levels. And so the food that we eat also has, so just like your body is composed of many different bodies, okay? The elements that we take into our bodies also have gradations of bodies associated with them and energetic properties associated with them. So when you take in something, you're nourishing yourself, but on different levels. So the stuff you eat, how you eat it, where it's taken in, all of these types of things, right? These all play a role into creating the consummate human being that you are. And so, the good occultist, right, the adept, they would, when I said these terms, sorry, I should define these terms for you, but I should say that the spiritual scientist, the spiritual investigator, okay, that's kind of what I mean when I say the occultist. I do not mean, some evil witch
Yeah,
doctor,
I've got
casting
a sticker on
spells on
it.
people. Like, I don't. That's not what I mean when I say occultist.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. The stuff that we eat and the way we live our lives. It's not just your physical body. There's a lot more to worry about. So, um, and people that get onto this path, onto this lifestyle, they learn about this stuff, and it just really motivates you to take your spiritual development to higher and higher places. And the food is the first step. It's step one, right? Very important. We need to have a foundation. Gotta have a foundation. Otherwise, you can't build anything rigid and structural, on a faulty foundation. So we need to start with the physical body, start with the
Yeah.
physical elements that we take in, and from there start building, cleaner vessels, better vessels in which to house our higher bodies, so that we can do work in the world. We can do the good work. We can do the moral work. We can do the work of truth. We can do the work of God. All these wonderful things that are at our disposal as human beings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a fun place. It's a fun place. It's fun. It's an interesting. It's an engaging opportunity that we have here in life, right? So, trying to make the
Yeah.
best of it, right?
It's one of those, like, you start to notice the frequencies of when you dig deeper into this. I feel it's a natural progression when you start to look at how foods not only make you feel, but where does it align within those. I'm glad you've explained. That was a really good explanation, actually. And the other,
Oh, thank you.
it's very clear because I think I'm quite visual as well, and I was already visualizing that, and it's interesting to see how, like, music, your environment, people, everything you listen to, absorb, what you eat. It's not just about the food, but that's definitely the foundation, because this is something we're ingesting, we're consuming. So you look at the frequencies of food. We know from even just my understanding, it's the high, the fruits are the higher frequency foods. And is that for all fruits? Could you expand on that, like with the set and with it not being organic, with all the pesticides? There's some fear around certain fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. So with fruit, what we're talking about is we're talking about the most evolved type of vegetation that grows on the planet. Okay, so we're talking about the most evolved type of vegetation that grows on the planet. As you know, and hopefully a lot of your listeners know at this point, but fruit is the only type of vegetation that really gives itself in service to you the eater, right? It's a willing submission. It's a willing bargain. It's a willing trade that the tree makes, or the plant makes, in order to continue its evolutionary cycle, right? And it does that with you, the eater, or the chipmunk, the eater, or whoever, right? Whatever organism's eating, in order to make this harmonious cycle, right, continue. And then all the other types of plant life below the fruit, these are they are. I should describe the difference between a plant and an animal, because if you don't do that, then people might get lost. Let me just finish this. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to formulate the idea, but let me just
Yeah.
finish what I was saying. So all plant life below the fruit, these are not necessarily willingly giving themselves up to the eater to be eaten, right? They have a purpose that they're trying to unfold, right? They have a natural purpose that's decided by the life essence, the life spirit. Don't ask me to go into detail on that. It's just this ineffable intelligence that is in control of everything, that's guiding what these plants do. And their job is not necessarily to be eaten. So they try to protect themselves, they try to grow, they try to flourish. But it's the fruits of those plants that is what is really, really given to you. And so, with that being the underlying program, okay, nature has seen to it that the gift, the giving part of the plant, it's ensured that is the most rich. It is the most water content rich, the most nutrient available. All right. Some people might say, like, oh, the plant life, it's much more dense in minerals, much more dense in a bunch of nutrients. That might be true, right? In order to keep the structure of the plant or whatever, but it's not as available to your system as the nutrient profile in a fruit, right? Because that is, again, that is the part of the fruit that is the gift, right? A vibrational element of the plant, the higher energy aspect of the plant. There's an old bit of wisdom that teaches that you wouldn't want to eat anything that the sun doesn't touch. So things that grow below, and I know people don't want to hear this. All right, people don't want to hear anything like that. Like, I'm not interested in hearing anything, that's slamming my, potatoes and carrots and whatever in the tubers. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I get it. But this happens to be a very old bit of wisdom that advises that if you want the highest energy food, you don't want to eat stuff that the sun does not actually directly come in contact with, right? Because there's an energetic difference there. Just like there's an energetic difference between, let's just say, us as a human being, if we are locked away from the sun completely, right? Just shut away in a dark room. And then the difference between that same human being, you bring them out into the sun, onto the beach or whatever, let them enjoy some sun for a month. You've got a fundamentally different human being on the other side of that, right? And we're not even plants. We're not even rooted to the ground. Okay, we're free to move around. So imagine the difference with plant life that is actually anchored to the ground, right? The difference in available energy, right, from a fruit that is now getting the direct sunlight and plus all the nutrients that the plant is furnishing it with, as opposed to something like below the ground, which is not getting that direct sunlight. Right? So it's interesting. It starts to get very interesting. Okay, now that's just a general look at why it would be that the fruit family is the more energy giving, energy sustaining, because looking at it in a philosophical point of view, it's the only plant life element in nature that is giving, willfully giving, being of service. Everything else, nuts as well. Nuts are just a different type of fruit, right? A fruit and a nut, they're very similar. They're very, very similar. A nut is just a different strategy that the tree uses to reproduce, where it makes the seed the actual edible element of the plant.
Yeah.
Whereas in the fruit, the seed is not edible, but it's encased in something very, very, very edible. So it's just either way, it's just a different strategy that the tree is using to reproduce. So there's a similarity between nuts and fruits. Now I should describe now, unless you have another wanted something to add to that so far. That just this whole idea of the philosophy being important and being compelling to think, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, it is the fruit family, the nut family. It's that one element or one group that really is giving itself for the nutrition of the eater, and everything else is not really doing that. So that's a good thing for people to juggle around with in their mind. Explore that idea, see what that feels like. When you go back to life, back to regular life after you finish hearing this podcast or hearing this video, just think about that. Right? Think about all the things you eat, where they come from, what nature is doing with those foods. It's just an interesting mental exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to drift off topic too much here. I should, for information's sake, describe what the difference between an animal would be and a plant, right? So that people understand. I talked about bodies. Okay, I talked about different bodies right at the top of this little session here. So we've got this physical body. On the next body that you have in terms of vibrational frequency, right? So let's just say your physical body vibrates at a certain frequency. Let's just call that my hand for now. The next one above it, right? The next finer grade, next finer body that you have, you could call that many things. You call it life body, or you could call it the etheric body. The life body or the etheric body, it's you can actually see it with your eyes. It's very fine. You can see it. You require some, not special lighting, but dim lighting, and you need to have the right background, and you can actually see it physically because it's like the medium. It's like the medium of exchange between the next body above that and your physical. So it's like this energy translating body between the next higher body, which would be your astral body, and your physical. So you've got your physical body, you've got your etheric body or life body, vital body. It's a body that's heavily connected with the life processes and the blood and the fluids in the body. So this energy body is in control of all of those fluid functions in your system. And then on top of that, you have your astral body. Okay. And the astral body deals with the inner experience of the person, all of your sensory faculties, your ability to sense things and internalize sensory data, right? This is all controlled by your astral body. And for the sake of simplicity, I think I would stop there in the bodies that make up the human being, because there are others above that. For example, the mental body, which is another body. And again, when I say body, let me reiterate, when I say body, I am talking about literally exactly this, a body, all right? Think of a body as a vehicle in which consciousness operates, okay? Think of it like that. The analogy of someone getting into a car is very appropriate. If you keep that in mind, you'll always have the right idea. So I have a physical body and a consciousness, a very lofty, difficult to define term, difficult to define entity, but the consciousness that's you, all right? That's the soul. That's very difficult to describe, okay, and to define particularly. But whatever that is, it is using this physical body as a vehicle, just like me in my life. I would go and jump in the car, and then the car is my vehicle. And when I'm in that car, I can express my personality and Eli-ness through the way I drive the car, right? So I can be an aggressive driver. I can pull 360s. I can stop. I have all this type of this control over the car that might express my personality, right? And then the second I leave the car is just dead, inert. It just doesn't move, right? But I'm still alive, and that's amazing. That's interesting. So, okay, I'll wrap it up, and then I'll let you chime in. So, you have these different bodies, and the life body takes care of the fluids. The astral body takes care of the inner experience, emotions, feelings. Okay, these are the agency of the astral body. Okay. Now the difference between so that's you as a human being, right? Leave it there for now. Physical body, etheric body, astral body. 3 bodies for the sake of simplicity right now that we're dealing with, and those make up a human being. All right. Now, the difference between you as a human being and a plant would be that the plant is missing some of the higher bodies that you have. All right. So a plant like yourself also has an etheric body. Okay. It also has an etheric body. But a plant doesn't have an astral body. right? Because the astral body is what allows an entity to internalize and have an inner experience, an inner feeling, emotional experience from sensory data from the outside. And that makes you, it gives you a certain degree of confidence. So plants don't have that body fully developed. They have it, but it's not fully developed. So very, very, very immature astral body. Whereas in animals and humans, we have astral bodies. Animals and humans have these astral bodies. Plant life does not, right? And so to the occultist, to people with trained occult vision, who have the ability to have clairvoyant, they have clairvoyant abilities, faculties, trained extrasensory perception. These things are just as observable as the chair that I'm sitting on is observable to us, right? People who are trained to do this type of observational work, they can see this, and it's very, very obvious, and it's very clear. You can have different seers from all over the world, and they'll look at the same thing and tell you the same thing about it, right? So, so that being said, right, that you can discern these energetic principles behind plant life and animal life and human beings, right? There are also subtle energetic differences between different types of plant, fruits, the stems, the leaves, the roots. These all, as much as they're all plants, yeah, there are little subtle differences between them that are possible to tease out. All right, but I'll leave it there for now. So just know, this is just good information for people to take away from this. That what separates you from plant life is a type of body that you have that allows you to have these amazing abilities that we call human, the ability to have emotional experiences or internal experiences that are connected with you as an individual, right? That ability, that requires a body, right? It requires a body in which consciousness operates. And it is that body that is lacking in the plant life, because the plant life is connected to the planet through the root system. Yeah. You'll notice that we as humans, we're not connected to the planet. So it's like Mother Nature has gifted us with the ability to have our own internal experience of life, not necessarily the planet's internal experience of life. See, with the plants, it's like, think of an umbilical cord, right? When the mother gives birth, there's the umbilical cord that connects her to the child. And when the child is ripe, okay, just like a fruit, the umbilical cord is severed, and now the child grows into its own unique individual internal personal experience, right? So plant life is like little children that are not evolved yet enough to be able to disconnect from the earth. Mother Nature has not released them from that level yet. They still have work to do at that level. And once the evolution proceeds, then they might have different bodies later on. Okay. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing. It's a very, very interesting thing when you get into it. So
so
yeah,
on that one then, why do you think, because a lot of people believe, or some, and not so much a lot anymore, that we're seeing, well, then these animals were here for us to consume, to eat. Where did that come from? Do you know if these are free and to do, why have we associated that aspect when we know frequency wise, we know morally, ethically, it doesn't sit right, especially the ones that I feel are tapped in and more, I don't know, conscious. Let's expand on that. Your thoughts on that. I think you're good at expressing more than I am.
Yeah. Oh, nonsense. Stop it. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there could be a lot to unpack there.
There
And
is. It's so deep. It's such a deep
yeah, that's
subject.
yeah, but it's good. It's a good conversation. It reminds me of a line from The Last Samurai. You guys ever seen The Last Samurai?
Not for a
Um,
long
yeah.
time. No.
Oh, Ken Watanabe. I think his name's Ken Watanabe. One of the actors, one of the Japanese actors, plays the Tom Cruise's mentor, and they
Yeah.
have these conversations. And sorry, I just reminded myself of Ken Watanabe saying to Tom Cruise, "This is a good conversation."
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
it allows us to delve deeper and be
yeah,
open to
yeah,
the possibilities. And I've been searching, you look back, you think, oh, I was asking these questions a long time ago, and then you get distracted by life. And but this is so key. I think this is the next we're shifting into much more energetically. I feel it. We're delving deeper to who we really are, and why we do certain things. So
yeah.
yeah, it's something I'm delving deeper much more now, because of the foods, how they make me feel, and why is that? Why? And why? I'm just questioning. But before back at school, just shut down when I'd question, or it just how it is. You never really went so, expansive with it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I always deeply respect people who are at a place in their lives where they have the ability to have these inner dialogues with themselves, right? And to ask these questions because it speaks to your level of refinement. It speaks to your level of maturity, of conscious maturity, when we do have the ability to question these habits and these things that we just inherit from culture, and to start wondering, well, where does this come from? Is this right? To call into question your own habits, your own comfortable established habits, right? It's
Mm.
not easy to look at those things and possibly call them out, possibly call them something that you shouldn't be doing, possibly call yourself wrong in the act of doing them. Like these are very challenging things. So I always respect people that can get to a place where they're doing
It
that.
cements it though as well. It's that inner, like referring it to the inner. There's general, understand, but inner standing, and I feel this is where you really cement, what you're doing, and you embody, and it becomes much more um, easy when you truly understand something. It
Yeah,
cements it. It's like the moral aspect, with the animals. When I truly saw what was going on, when I see the cruelty, that really cemented why I'm vegan. Now I'm on the raw path, and more so to the fruits. I'm called. It's a natural pull, and I want to dig deeper. Why is that? And that's what cements us. I feel it's instead of trying to force something, instead of trying to this sort of level of not true inner standing. It's like it's kind of like a superficial. You do it for certain things. I know I want to look like that person, but why is that? And why we're drawn to these individuals and this lifestyle, and this is what I want to open this channel up to, a much more deeper, conversations.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I feel this is where the Rawlicious is so, it embodies all of it, because this is where, and I want to delve, and you explain it so well on the bodies that I can, because some things we're just not quite ready for, is inserting information, or we can't internalize it so clearly. And that's why having so many others expanding on how they are witnessing this what would you call it? Even I'm still finding ways to express. It's there, but it's the expression. And that's
yeah,
why we have
yeah.
you on, because there's a lot on your channel. So if you anyone want to expand on this, then it's deep, it's fascinating, and it truly gives that process a much more enjoyable as well, enjoyable experience. And it really it digs deep into that core of it, understanding. But yeah, and back to the animals,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. Right. Okay. So yeah, let me answer that question. So what we're asking is what what makes with what changed our relationship to these animals to make us to put us under the assumption or give us the assumption that we had the right to do all these horrible things to them, to dominate them in the way that we have, right? When when we really scrutinize it and look at it, we're not naturally drawn to that type of domination. So
Mhm.
why has the world come to that place? Okay, so that it's a very very important question. So I first thing I would say is that it hasn't always been the case. The planet, the planet, um, the universe, the whole universe, the galaxy, the universe, everything is governed by cycles. Everything is governed by the law of cycles. The law of cycles. It's a law that states, right, the understanding that all things have rhythm and cycles associated with them. Everything goes through motions. Everything. There's nothing. There's nothing in the created universe that doesn't operate under cycles. You can try as you might to think of examples that, oh well, this thing does it. You're wrong. Okay, everything. I don't care whether you're talking about a person, a cat, or a pencil, right? Cycles. There are grand and smaller cycles that operate and govern all of these things. So human civilization, as we know it right now, it's also a cyclical thing, and it goes through periods of more enlightenment, lesser enlightenment, more enlightenment, lesser enlightenment, and things always haven't been the way they are now.
Mm.
There was a time where we didn't have these kind of adulterated relationships that we do with the rest of the life on the planet. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to say, and again, I can only be just fairly brief because we don't have all the time in the world. So first thing to state here is that we have this law of cycles. They operate everywhere, and human civilization has not always been like this. Okay, what um what I think I want to say here is it's interesting. I mentioned earlier about thinking about how like a baby is born from from a mother and connected to an umbilical cord. So the mother's connected to that umbilical cord, and then when the time is right, the umbilical cord is dried and then cut and released, and now the baby is starting to have its own experience. Okay, so keep that in mind because human beings have a gift. All right, we have the gift of individuality, and we have a gift of an individualized ego identity, a very developed type of ego identity, which if I'm gonna go back to my spiel on bodies, human beings have above the astral body, they have a mental body as well. And this is where you'd start to find the seat of the ego, right? The individualized I, the thing that is able to have an experience and record all of this I data, me data, in relationship to the world and in relationship to all these experiences and feelings and emotions that are given to us by our astral body. And the two work together. This is something that animals now don't have. So we talked about how the plant life didn't have an astral body, right? Animals do, but plants don't. Now, the difference between human beings and animals is that animals don't necessarily have the ego body, the mental or a mental body as well developed as humans, right? Which is a huge difference. See, animals are still connected to the instinctual group spirit, right? whereas humans have done away with the group spirit thing and now have an individualized I ego identity. Okay, now where am I going with this? In explaining the question and answering the question. I have to come around, I have to give a lot of
There's a lot to
context.
unpack. There's a lot to
Yeah,
unpack,
it's a
but
lot
we
to
can
unpack.
try.
Yeah,
It's not easy, but it can.
it's
Yeah.
not easy. But I am trying. I'm trying to be very slow,
Amazing.
very, esoteric concepts. So please bear with me if it feels like I'm not drifting off subject. I'm not.
No, it's great.
So, we have these individualized egos. All right. Now, it's interesting when we make an association between how a mother and a child operate, the relationship between a mother and a child. Okay. See, because a good parent is trying to rear a child so that it is able to make its own decisions and be competent and be independent from the parent, right? But until that time, the parent has to look over them, make the decisions for them, right? Which might sound like tyranny, might sound like slavery, but it's not. It's a loving relationship between the parent and the child. And the parent is going to safeguard, make all the decisions for the child in its best interest while it doesn't understand the world properly. And then once the child, and this is important, reaches a level of maturity, yeah, once the child reaches a level of maturity, now the parent starts to slowly and possibly reluctantly relinquish their hold on the child, and the child, now a man or a woman, okay, goes off and is independent. All right. And the loving parent, hopes that they have trained the child well enough to be good in the world and to do well in the world and to make good decisions. Okay. I want you to think about that, hold on to that, and now we're going to translate that whole paradigm into other terms. And it's amazing how this works because, the as above, so below principle, the most ancient understanding that was drubbed into the mystery schools, the ancient Egyptian Cometian mystery schools, the Kemetic or the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. The profundity of that statement is, you could spend a lifetime unpacking the wonder and the mystery of that statement, as above, so below. Okay, so just keep that in mind, the relationship between mother and the child. So at a species level, at a population level, what has happened is human beings, through conscious evolutionary cycles, we have gotten to a place where we are right now. You and I are doing this amazing thing where, as human beings, we're having a conversation about abstract subjects, right? Things that animals they're not even close to ready to do, right? To do this type of thing. We have all this technology. We're human beings. We're amazing. And what we have done is we have severed the umbilicus, the umbilical cord between us and the instinctual group level consciousness, the connection to Mother Earth. The umbilical cord has been severed because Mother Earth, well, more than Earth. I mean, I'll talk. You could say the cosmic intelligence, cosmic spirit. All right, it's prepared human beings to such a degree of refinement where now we are ready to be gifted with our own individualized egos. Okay, and the hope and the intention is that mother, like the hopeful mother who releases her child, it's the intention and hope of Mother Nature that in gifting us our independence, right? We don't have roots anymore. We can walk around freely. In gifting us our independence, it hopes that we still make the right decisions, right? Without actually being held, by the scruff of the neck and say, okay, do this because it's right, right? That's what we used to be like when we were maybe in plant consciousness. And now you recognize that a plant has no choice but to do perfect right all the time. Has no choice. Why? Because it's still in the phase where it's the child. Mother is holding on to the child, telling it not to cross the street, telling it not to, eat this before dinner, you'll spoil your appetite, telling it the child not to, right? So the child can't do wrong because mama's holding child's hand. That's what the plant world is like. It's mama holding the plant's hand. So they can't do wrong. But once you evolve, now you're human beings. Now the trick is to still do right, just like when mama was holding your hand, even though you have the ability not to do right, even though you have the choice to do wrong if you choose because you're independent. Okay? So this is very interesting. So when humans were gifted with this ability to think for ourselves, create concepts and rationalize and do all these wonderful things, and create like gods do, right? To have a concept of a thing, reproduce it in the physical world. This is a creative masterpiece, right? This is incredible. So now that we have the ability to do that, what happened? And this is a debate. This is debatable as to the time frame, but maybe around 15,000 years ago, 15,000, 20,000, maybe less, maybe 12,000 years ago. Okay. We started moving all over the planet, moving all over the world. And because of our ability to think like we do, human beings we had the ability to change our environment, right? Something that animals cannot do. They don't change their habitat. But humans had the ability to make modifications in not only their habitat, but in their own lives, to be able to move outside of their natural dwelling. So that being the case, because we could continue to conceptualize and because we're not tied to Earth Mother, right? What we did was we had to start devising ways to live and devising ways to live outside of our habitat where we're not being supported by our natural foods anymore. So what we do is we come up with and create concepts and in order to rationalize and in order to justify doing something that violated our own instincts. And we did it for long enough that it became culture and that we believed it, right? So with the freedom that Mother Nature gave us in order to go off and in the world and do our own thing, what we did was we used that and we didn't make the right choice, right? We didn't make the right choice. And we're stuck there. That's where things are right now in terms of our relationship to animals and the planet, right? So we still haven't really realized and internalized the lesson that what you do to others, you bring back on yourself. What you do to the world will be a reflection of what you do to yourself, right? We haven't internalized that very deep esoteric lesson. The spiritual scientist, the occultist, they're taught that they're taught that they need to be so responsible with themselves and their own conduct that you're not even allowed to think bad thoughts about other people and other things, because at that level they recognize the damage that they bring to themselves just with bad thoughts, not even bad actions, right? This is a very deep level of spiritual maturity, right? And so we're not even there. We're not even close to there yet, right? So we live in the physical world. We think, if I can get away with it, if I can do this, nobody's looking. Okay. We think that's it, right? You get away with it scot-free. There are no repercussions to doing bad in the world. or cheating in the world, and we think that it doesn't come back to us, or it doesn't harm the world in any particular way. It does. It
Mm-hmm.
does. So anyway, so that's the point right here, is that we've been given the gift of independence, all right? And with that gift of independence, we chose to leave our natural habitat. And because we did that, we were forced to live in ways that
Against.
we had to find a way to survive. So
Survive.
what
I
we
was going to
did
say
was,
survival.
yeah, we had to find a way to survive. So in order to survive and do the things that were against our natural instincts, okay, our relationship to animals as it is now, what we did was, instead of come to terms and grips with those instincts, we created, like gods, rational concepts and cultural concepts that convinced us that what we were doing was right. So we have the thing like, you know, blessing your food, blessing the kill, the mighty hunter going out and taking down the animal, right? And taking the animal and blessing it and thanking it, right? This is all very good stuff. This is wonderful stuff. Yes, absolutely, right? But it's what we had to do in order to feel right about doing something that would have never originally or naturally felt right. Yeah. So we didn't have a choice. We had to come up with culture to support what we were doing in the world. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it pulls us away from what is truly goodness, from our true highest potential. Because the best way that we could possibly live is, remember I was talking about mama holding your hand, mother nature holding your hand, and when it's doing that, you can't do wrong, because you're attached to worldly cosmic intelligence. The intention is that when mama nature releases her grip on you, what she wants is that you keep doing all the good that you were doing when she was holding your hand. But now that I'm not holding, you have the ability to choose otherwise, but you don't do it anyway. You don't do it because it's not right, even though you have the ability to choose otherwise. This is the whole background behind the concept of the devil, the concept of evil, right? It is the choice to do that which is against nature, right? The choice to do so. And so that's the interesting thing here, is that we are making these choices that are not in the best interest of the planet and ourselves. And whereas what we want to try to do is we want to try and be as morally perfect and pure as plants who are still connected to the group spirit, right? To mama nature. We want to be so good and so pure and giving, just like a plant is. A plant is so selfless. It just gives 24/7. Never for a second worrying about itself. Always just doing exactly what its job is, right? Never deviating. Selfless service. Like every plant is like a Buddha, is like a Christ figure, it's like a Krishna figure. They're just constantly giving. So the trick is, can we do the same thing when we have the choice not to do that? And that, if we can get ourselves to a place where we're doing that, that is a very deep level of conscious enlightenment, conscious evolution. So coming back to the relationship with animals now, once we recognize this whole thing that I just talked about, once we start to piece this together, and it becomes very glaringly evident and obvious that we're not really designed to be eating the level of consciousness that we should be taking care of. Like we should be stewards. We should be good stewards to the planet. We should be caretakers. When we're religiously told to have dominion over the earth, dominion doesn't mean subjugate and enslave and kill and eat your subjects. No, it means have dominion over them. Be a good king.
Protect.
Be a good queen. Right? Protect. Yeah, protect. Right? That's what is meant by the term dominion. Not slice off the tail end and remove the entrails and drink the blood and eat the liver because it's more nutrient dense. No, that's not what is intended. So yeah, we want to get to a place where we are still acting as if universal consciousness is holding our hand or attached to the umbilical cord, yet we have the ability not to do to choose otherwise. Okay. And where does that start? It starts with the base level foundation, right? The things that we have control over, the easy things, right? So I just spoke about choosing the right thing, even though you have the ability to choose the wrong thing. You and I could both, in a second, just drop the headphones, head to the nearest fast food restaurant, order all sorts of just garbage food that might stimulate the hell out of us. Might feel, I don't even know if it would feel wonderful at this point. But you know what I mean? Like we could just abuse ourselves completely, abuse ourselves at the drop of a hat. But you don't. But you don't do that. And why don't you do that? Because you're making a better choice, a more consciously evolved choice, even though you have the ability to not do that and satisfy all manner of lower base sensual pleasures. You could do that, but you are using your gift to not do that and to look for something higher. So you start to see how utterly important and profound your choices are when it comes to something as simple as feeding your body, right? To bring this full circle, right? What you're doing on your channel, what I'm doing on my channel. Because it's the bedrock, right? It's the place where we start to do the work that evolves our consciousness, right? I didn't when I started doing this, I didn't start from the moral aspect. At first, I had to start from like the very ego-based. When I say ego-based, sorry, I should say not necessarily like selfish in the negative connotation. I wanted health. Okay? I wanted health. I wanted better health. So that's what I mean when I say ego-based, like selfish. I didn't make the dietary changes that I made originally for like deep selfless consideration to the animal kingdom. It was because I recognized immediately that this was clearly a not a healthy habit that I had, eating all the meats and the dairies and all this kind of stuff. But my point is, in taking care of like the lowest building blocks, the lowest foundations, like the bare minimum. Over time, what happened was a maturity of thought started to develop where it wasn't there before. Okay. And I grew into the obviousness and the whole morality and the ethics behind this. It became more and more and more and more evident as I continued to live like this, right? So it was these higher level spiritual understandings, moral understandings that came from just doing the bare basics at the bottom of the hierarchy, right? Just food. So we can grow into this, and that's what we're doing here. Is we're growing into, and we're using what we have the power to choose and change, and we're using that to build higher and higher and higher levels of conscious socially evolved thought, right? Social evolution, so conscious evolution, right? And we're doing it through the choices we make at the lowest level, right? The physical level. So it's a very
what we do every
it's a
day.
wonderful process. Yeah. Yeah. The things you do every day, right? The lifestyle choices you make. So now that's one perspective. There are other perspectives that you could take, that you could go down to help explain, because we're still on that subject, why it is we've we've chosen to have this relationship to animals on this planet so far, right? So that's one way we can look at it. And there are other factors. There are other factors that I haven't explored here, but yeah. So I mean, you could go down this for quite a while. It's like you said earlier. Yeah, it's a very rich question. It's a very deep question that we can explore.
But
Yeah,
necessary for us to, if you feel that resonance and you feel there's some, because all it is we've disconnected, and if we can keep on the path of delve deeper into and asking the questions, you'll come to you'll come to that I call it alignment, when you're mindful and you're not in this world of survival. We've done those things, not justifying them, but we've done it through survival to make the justifications. But we're not in that anymore. We don't have to be in survival. And it brings us back to who we really are, what and I feel on that path for me feels much more, it's a more enjoyable and compassionate experience, and what I feel coming away from the fear. There's a lot of fear with what we're doing regularly and how we're exposing ourselves to eating, consuming animals. So I feel it's if on just a simple level, it's just coming back to that harmonious, way of being, and back to who we really are. Connections. When we say we're disconnecting, it's what you've just described so well, of the disconnect from the earth. And I feel if we can tap into more of who we really are, this life is much more enjoyable and harmonious and peaceful. And if we make those choices every day, just to get a little bit better, just to learn a little bit more, to have this inner standing, to absorb into those because if you're not too sure or you understand it just yet, but you have some sort of resonance, this knows this is the path. You may feel like you're going backwards at times. Even for me, like, I know how fruit makes me feel, but I'll tend to go into the gourmet raw foods, and I can see all patterns resurfacing. But I just know now I'm much more gentle on myself, knowing that there's more work. There's more work in the sense of there's a connotation with work of being hard. No, it's just it's the inner standing, coming back to this, the true self, the truth of who we are.
yeah, well, absolutely. There's something interesting that I wanted to share with you about that, and because you're talking about just this understanding, right? This understanding, and this understanding about life, your particular life, and your relationship with these lifestyle elements, eating and whatnot, and all the choices that we can make. And we talked a bit earlier about, just very briefly, about the spiritual dynamics of different types of life, right? The plant life and the animal life. We talked about the bodies. Okay, talked about the life body, the etheric body, the one that's closest to your physical body, right? This might be interesting. And so your etheric body. Now, remember I mentioned that your etheric body, and it's good to go over it just so people remember. remember I mentioned that your etheric body, it's visible. You can actually see it with your eyes, with your physical eyes. And what I didn't tell you is what it looks like. It looks like vapor. Okay, it looks like wisps of smoke. It looks like someone who's blown a cigarette smoke or who's blown cigarette smoke, and just right before it disappears completely into the air and diffuses into the air and becomes invisible, just before that, we just see the tiny little wisps just ever so slightly dancing at the edge of visible light, the visible light spectrum. That's what your etheric field looks like. Okay, it looks like tiny little wisps of smoke dancing inches above your skin, all over your body. Okay, so this is interesting because what we're doing when we talk about the energy differences between different types of foods, people might wonder, okay, fine, all right, I shouldn't eat animal products. I shouldn't eat ultra processed foods. I shouldn't eat, well, if we're talking about what we talked about earlier, I shouldn't as often eat stuff that's grown under the ground. The stuff that grows above the ground is of higher quality for sure. And they get all that. Let's just say they get all that, but they're like, okay, well, why can't I cook cook some foods, right? What would be the difference? And it's interesting in that when you cook something, one of the first things that happens is you see a gas, a vapor, leave the food, right? And that, remember, like we said, the life body, the vital body, the etheric body, those are all synonyms that we can use to describe the same body. It is responsible for the life elements in your body, the fluid, all the fluids in your system, the blood, the etheric body is very, very, very involved in the maintenance of the blood, right? The etheric body is what in plant life is what changes inorganic material to organic material. So it's that thing, that body that's responsible for changing the irons and the coppers and the zincs and all these into usable forms in the plant, right? That's all the role of the life body, the etheric body. So when we cook a food, isn't it interesting that what escapes from the food after you subject it to heat is an element is a life essence, right? And it looks to our eyes very similar. Your etheric body looks very much like the vapor that escapes from an organic bit of food when you cook it. Now, another little clue that we have is that if I were to do the same thing with my thumb or my hand or something, maybe subject it to the same amount of heat, right? What happens? The whole structure is compromised, right? If I hold flame to my thumb, I compromise the structure completely, and now my thumb is no longer the same thumb that it used to be. And if I burn it badly enough, it'll never go back to being the same thumb that it used to be. If I do same thing with food, if I cook that potato or I cook that lentil or I cook that whatever, right? If it's a seed, let's just say it's a nut or a seed, I cook it, the life essence has dissipated, and now it is no longer what it once was. It no longer grows, it no longer sprouts, right? Because the life has been deprived from it or has left it. So it's just interesting. It's interesting how there's a similarity there between the life essence that leaves a bit of organic material that you're planning on eating, and the life essence that you can actually see with your own eyes in your own body, and both of them look the same. They look very similar, right?
Yeah,
it's a curious thing. Yeah. So you're dealing with these energetic principles when we scrutinize not only what we're eating, but how we're eating it. And so it makes a difference, right? So we start to be able to be particular. When we recognize that these things are happening, that's when we start to be a bit more choosy or particular about what we're putting into our bodies, right? And it's all part of the game. It's all part of the process of becoming more consciously involved with the choices that you make. Just going about them willy-nilly, just being driven by like without any conscious mind by the
call it the drift. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're obligated to try to start to claim conscious recognition of all these things rather than just kind of blindly doing them, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. It gives us that, like say, back to the choice in if you're understanding more of where the foods come from, if we delve deeper, appreciation. You have more, yeah, definitely more appreciation. And I use it all the time about this life force energy. If you're taking life force energy out of something and you're eating something that's totally dead, look at all the processed food. That's what's going to give you back. That's what's going to make up your cells and make up who you are internally on all those levels. A great way.
Yeah.
Great way to put it. Yeah. Thank you. This is like we could go all day with this. How long have we been? This is amazing. But yeah, I'd love to delve deeper and bring you back on the channel. I'm going to open up some Q&A as well. And for those that want to explore even just your day-to-day lifestyle, what you consume. I mean, you shared your story last year on the channel, so I'll definitely link that below. And we'll have you back on. We'll discuss more into this and say if you've got any questions, then everyone, then do please ask. I'll also create a post as well for you to ask questions and also below, because Eli would love to come back on, wouldn't you, Eli?
Oh, of course, anytime. Yeah, and I'm so grateful and flattered that you asked to have me back on here. Anytime, I'd always love to come and chat with you on your channel, on your platform. I really respect what you're doing, and to be involved in the process is just something that makes me feel right. So, of course, anytime. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
So grateful. Yeah, I'm super grateful as well. Just having your time. It's amazing that this mission we're on, this path is magical. It's wonderful, and I get to share it with other like-minded souls. It's really nice. So I appreciate you being on the channel and being with us today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. No, pleasure's all mine. I assure you.
So kind. I hope, kind. Yeah. So humble and kind. But as you know, Eli, we do end with the be, feel, and stay Rawlicious statement. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Yes.
So after 3, 1, 2, 3, be, feel.
Rawlicious.
Yeah, I missed some of that. I don't know if it was the internet, but be, feel, and stay Rawlicious.
No, that I actually paused for a long time there deliberately just to make it extra.
Oh, you meanie! Well, you're gonna do it on your own now. Go on. What do we do?
No. Oh my gosh. Am I saying the catchphrase again?
Saying it. I get all my guests to always do it. It's my little ending. Be feelings. We try to do it at the same time, but if not, it's not a big deal breaker.
Okay. All right. Okay. Coach me through it one more time. You say it, and then I'm going to say it.
Be, feel, stay Rawlicious.
All right. Here we go. Be, feel, stay Rawlicious.
And do a little kiss.
Mwah.
Oh,
love you very much, guys.
Beautiful. You're so good.
Love you very much. Thank you. I hope you guys got something out of this. And yeah, you subscribe to this channel if you like stuff like this. And there's going to be more. She's always got wonderful videos to share with you guys. So I really hope you subscribe, and hope this helps you on your path.
And your channel as well. Definitely check out Eli's channel, FreeMelon Society. That's in the description box below. So thank you so much. Love you loads.
Thank you so much. Okay, love you too. Mwah. We'll see you guys
Thank
next time.
you.